A lot of internet marketers think that success is completely dependent on their offer, but it's actually not. Once you have a good offer, the entirety of your success is pretty much determined by how good your hook is. So in this video, I'm actually going to share with you and break down some of the more advanced hook writing strategies that I use to get a ton of traffic to somebody's offer after it's created. Now, one of the biggest fallacies, first and foremost, and you guys probably know this from me, and I say this a lot, is that if anyone has any kind of traffic issue to their offer, it's actually because they have a messaging problem, but they have a smoke screen in front of them thinking, something's wrong with my offer. They never look away from the offer. And I got to tell you the honest truth that once I finish an offer, I actually usually don't look at it again. And that usually surprises people because I touted myself as the offer guy for a long time. What I really do is I'll take the offer and I stop looking at it, because that's the role of the entrepreneur, right? Is to create a really cool offer. You got to realize that the entrepreneur role is actually the broke person role. There's a ton of really good offers sitting on people's shelves collecting dust, and they're good offers. It took me 34 failures over 5 years to get something to work. And I look back over those first 34 failures, the offers were all good. And if you're not on business try number one, and you're not on like offer try number one, you probably have noticed that as well, is that what you created was actually a good offer. And that's not what actually made it fail. Why it failed is because you didn't take off the entrepreneur hat. There's like a fetish in this space with being entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs is the broke role. So what you actually have to be is a marketer. Marketer is the money-making role. Take off, and I'll even do this in my events and my workshops, and it's stupid and it's cheesy, but it's just to make sure that people don't get stuck as an entrepreneur. I'll literally have people in the audience like proverbially take off an entrepreneur hat and put on the marketer hat, because it's a completely different mentality. And it's usually why people don't make any money. It's all about being the marketer, right? Yes, you have to have a really good offer. It's got to be strong. It's got to be awesome. But you got to realize really, really fast that, again, you can solve a valuable problem, make a good offer, but be broke. So it's all about the hook. The hook is how you get people's attention. And the hook is how you go start getting people to come over and say, wait, what do you have over there? The analogy I like to use a lot is actually fishing. I don't like fishing that much, except for if it's like deep sea fishing. So Marley and I have gone fishing several times in Alaska, and we'll go salmon fishing. And what's funny is she and I will work in the mornings while everybody else gets up at like 4 a.m. and they're up on the boat super early, and they're like, out there braving the storms and the waves and all that stuff. And she and I will work a lot of times till like 11, and then we'll get in the boats, and we know that there's this spot on the other side of the island that we stay. We know if we just go in a little figure eight slowly right there, we will catch the limit of the fish that we're allowed to go get in like 2 hours. And so everybody else is out super early, and they're exhausted. They'll come in for lunch and they're just all like exhausted. And Marley and I are like well rested. We did our meetings and we still caught the limit of our fish. And it's like ticked off a lot of other fishermen, but it's pretty funny. Now, the only reason that works is because it comes down to the hook, right? When we go on the other side of this little island right here, where we stay when we go do it, year after year, we've gone there 3 or 4 years now. Every 15 minutes, there's this gigantic school of salmon that will go right underneath the boat. Now, you can't see the salmon. You can't see them go underneath. But the strategy that I actually use to catch all those fish, funny enough, is the exact same strategy I use in marketing to catch all those fish. And marketing on the internet is very much like that. You have people who literally will get on these little boats and they go out to this blue ocean where there are no fish. I don't want any competition. Competition is bad. As a marketer, you want to steer straight into the competition. You want to go right to where the fish are. And so what's funny is she and I will just drop these hooks and we'll go in this little figure eight and we'll wait maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes if if the fish are stopping for a little break. I don't know. But a lot of times we won't even put bait on the hook. It's so funny. We'll just literally just be going this little trolling figure eight thing. And suddenly, bam, 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 we catch all these fish, and then it's nothing for like 30 minutes. And we do that just over and over for like 2 hours, and then we catch all the limit of our fish. Marketing is the exact same. As an entrepreneur mindset, you're probably going to go broke if you keep thinking that you have to go where there's no competition. That's a good serving attitude when you're building an offer, but a terrible, destructive, broke attitude as a marketer. Okay, so as a marketer, I'm taking my hook and I'm going right to where the bloodiest, reddest, most competitive places are and fishing from there. And this is exactly the opposite of what college taught me. My marketing degree, my entrepreneurship degree literally taught me the exact opposite of what I'm telling you. They always told me to go out and hey, fish where there's no competition. Oh my gosh, has someone else made something similar to what you have? Well, I better not go fish from that market or that ocean. It's the exact opposite. Okay, you want to go to the hottest, biggest, fattest red oceans that are out there and drop these hooks. Using hooks and getting traffic and leads on the internet is really those two parts. It's number one, having a good hook, which I'm going to show you in a second here. And then it's what you do with the hook. Don't go drop the hook where there's no fish. You see this all the time when an entrepreneur will start to drive the marketer seat. And I can tell when they're doing that. I'm like, get out of that seat. We need a marketer in the marketer seat. Because what they'll do is they'll sit down and they'll start saying, well, you know what? I can't go sell someone the book that I just wrote because they've already bought a book on that topic. You look behind me, though, I got so many books that are on the same topic. And you need to think about marketing in that exact same way. So let's dive into this hook writing thing. Now, I just barely finished the rough draft of the dramatic demonstration book that I'm co-authoring with Russell Brunson. And I just wrote a massive chapter all on hook writing and advanced hook writing strategy. So I'm actually going to share some of these with you guys. Before I do, let me draw kind of how this concept works, okay? What people are doing today is they are using the wrong kind of messaging for their hooks. If you go around and you ask people what a hook is, most people can't actually tell you. I used to ask a lot of my old mentors this question, and I would say, can you tell me what a hook is? And you go ask anybody in the internet marketing space what a hook actually is. Most of them, they say something like this. The hook is the thing that grabs somebody's attention. The hook is the thing that grabs, I literally had mentors who would tell me, the hook is the thing that grabs somebody's shoulders and gets them to look at you. I think it's a dumb definition of a hook because I could kick you in the face and I'm going to have your attention, but you're not going to ask to buy from me, right? Attention is not created equally or measured the same. And so I had to come up with literally a new offer hook creation formula. And this is one of the reasons Russell asked to write a book with me because it's new and we needed to make up a new version of a hook. Okay, so this is how we actually write hooks. All right, so first of all, you want to think about how there are actually two forms of messaging all of your offers need to win on the internet. So first, let's say that your offer's right here on the right side, right? Now, play ball with me here. And you might be like, duh, Steven, but just think about it. The sales message, the job, right? The sales message, your sales script, its job is to what? Sell the offer. I was like, well, duh, right? How many times have you ever gone out and you've made an offer and you've made a sales message and then suddenly you wait 3 or 4 days and you're like, I'm rich. Like, it doesn't work that way. So what you have to think about is something has to sell your sales message. If the sales message sells the offer, what sells the sales message? That's what the hook's job is. The hook's job is to sell somebody into consuming your sales message, which sells somebody into consuming your offer. So it's those 3 parts right there. A lot of times people will think that a hook is just a headline. It's not, by the way, but they completely misunderstand what a hook is actually for. That hook is the thing that we are using before every first page of our web assets, right? Our funnels. It's what we're putting on YouTube channels. It's what we're putting on podcasts. It's what we're putting in email. It's what we're putting on any distribution or marketing channel on the internet altogether. It's all about how do I come up with this story, it's the hook story, that sells people into consuming the sales message, which sells people into consuming the offer. Now, the only reason I'm going so deep into this before I actually dive into the hook thing is because you need to understand the framing of how we use this thing, right? Think about the sales message right here, right? This is actually your sales funnel, right? You might have an order page right here. Maybe you have an upsell page right here. And a sales funnel, its whole job, right, is to automate your sales message and your offer. Right. So what's funny about this is I can turn around. I could have a sales message. I can have an offer, but still be broke. If you've ever built a sales funnel, by the way, and it's never worked, let me know down below. I can't tell you how many sales funnels I've built that didn't work. I actually had to work for Russell Brunson, 3 feet from him for 2 years to understand this. Okay. What was happening was, and I know I'm pre-framing this like crazy, but it's because people just don't understand what a hook is. All right. So how many funnels? In fact, I think it'd be funny. How many funnels have y'all built that haven't worked? Right? I'll comment down below as well. In fact, I'll tell you right now, 34. And those funnels, a lot of them were while I was Russell's funnel guy. You know how much it like gaslights your own career when you're the funnel guy's funnel guy without your own successful funnel? It's really weird. It's really embarrassing. It was the first like 6 months of me working for him back in 2016. And I was building all these funnels and I was literally, I couldn't get anything to work. What was really weird is I was building in the mornings and the evenings the exact same sales funnel that I was building for Russell that day, but it still wasn't working. Right? Like, that's really crazy. This was such a big story for me because I remember I walked in one day and I thought he was going to fire me. I thought Russell Brunson was going to fire me because I couldn't get any of my own funnels to work, like I was saying. And I walked in one day. I remember it was 13 months into working for him. I walked into his office. My desk was right next to his, right? So I'm walking into my desk too in the morning. And he looks up from his desk just like I'm sitting here and he goes, "What's up? Hey, you turned that funnel in last night?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Great job on that, man. I only had to change one word in the headline." And I was like, "Woo!" Like, I literally yelled, "Woo!" It freaked him out because I yelled, "Woo!" And he goes, What? And I goes, "Dude, you had me redo so many funnels for so long and I couldn't get my own funnels to work for so long. I thought you were going to fire me." And he goes, "Fire you?" And I said, "Yeah." And what he said next changed my life and literally led to what I'm going to teach you in just a second here about this. He said, "Stephen, when you came to me, you were already a great funnel builder, but I've been turning you into a marketer." Mic drop. I'm not going to lie, until that moment, I thought that whenever I built a sales funnel, I also was checking the box on marketing, but that's not the case. The things that he was doing is what was making the funnel work. Right? So if you ever built a sales funnel or you've built an offer or you've created a sales message or you have a website and it's not actually working, you have the structure, but you don't have a hook. And that's why it's not working. I can't believe how long it took me to just simply look left 3 feet from me. I mean, he literally sat we sat back, almost back to back, sitting right there, and look and observe that whatever he was doing is what made the funnel work in the first place. That's why nothing was working for me. So it comes down to the hook. So that's all the pre-frame. Everything you're doing before page one of your funnel, page one of how you show your offer, page one of your website is actually what is making the money. Right? Your sales funnel is literally just a piece of tech. It's not a money-making machine. Let's dive into this. Okay, so back down here to the screen here on this, I'm going to go write a hook, and the hook is what I'm going to drop into YouTube. Right? Think of it like a hook, right? YouTube is this big, massive bunch of traffic. It's 2 billion searches a month. Then we have this massive river. Think about those salmon, right? I'm literally going to where the fish are. There's a big one called Facebook. There's a big one called Instagram. There's a big river called whatever. And I'm just taking that same hook and I'm dropping it. My drawing sucks, but I never graduated past stick figures, but whatever. I'm dropping that same hook story in Facebook. I'm dropping that same hook story in YouTube. The same hook story in Instagram. Whatever. Right? And you start to realize that all these internet platforms, all they all are is just big rivers of where fish are. And the only reason why you've not been able to get leads over to your offer is because you never created the bridge. The bridge is not your offer. The bridge is not your sales message. The bridge is not your sales funnel. It's your hook. And I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I work with who have realized after showing this to them, oh my gosh, I've never actually had a hook. I have a sales message. I have an offer. I have a funnel. I have a website. I have branding, but I've never actually had a hook. And it's like, well, yeah, that's why your sales have always been hard. A hook's job is to get someone to look at you and go, "Tell me more." That's it. Well, let me tell you, first of all, how people are messing it up. Y'all have probably heard the term origin story. Tell us your origin story. Tell us your origin story. All right. So if we have a hook, we have a sales message that says message. I got D's in all English. Okay. So there's a hook message. There's a sales message. And then there's your offer. And why people have such a hard time with traffic today is that they're using their origin story. That's actually a sales message asset, right? So we have the origin story, the story about you. They have the story about their offer, right? They have different sales scripts and they're using sales material in marketing channels. That's why it's not working. You got to use marketing messaging in marketing channels. So people have a disservice to their offer and their customers they're trying to go sell to when they think they only have one story to tell. I'm telling my origin story. How come no one wants to buy from me? They don't care about you yet. Okay, so the hook is the origin story about the customer, not you. It's a story that tells the story of whatever your dream customer is beginning to go through. So I'm actually going to share my screen here real quick. I'm actually writing the dramatic demonstration book right now. I just finished the rough draft of it. Russell's writing his chapter, and we have the famous Joe Vitale. He's actually writing his the foreword right now, which is awesome. So you guys are seeing the super rough draft with my notes and stuff in here as well. But I wrote a whole chapter in here about the offer hook formula and how we use it. All we do is we get people to raise their hand and say, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And we get into trouble as internet people when we assume that people are already asking, tell me more. Nobody's wanting to hear about your offer. So here's some offer hook examples of clients that I think I've written well over 100 of these now for clients. And the pattern has been that when my clients use them, I mean, it just dominates their lead gen, right? Because now they're telling stories about the customer's experience that makes the customer go, oh my gosh, I'm understood. This person understands who I am. Who are you? Tell me more. Now I can go tell my sales message. Now they can go to page 1 of my funnel. Now they can actually consume the material that sells them on buying my offer, right? Right here. So here's the hook story itself right here, right? So actually, let me read a few examples. There was a client I had a long time ago. He is a diabetic bodybuilder, and he helps people who got diagnosed with diabetes later on in life kind of get their life back, right? So they don't feel like they're being taken over by diabetes and changing everything. So pay attention to some of the questions I ask. I ask things like, who's your dream customer you want to be working with? And he told me, I want to work with those people who got diagnosed with diabetes later in life. I said, tell me about them. Do they have a family? He goes, yep, they got a family. I said, are they successful people? Or are they kind of, more blue collar workers, right? And he goes, this type of person that I'm working with, they make probably over $100,000 a year. I said, sounds good. Could you tell me what is making your dream customer feel trapped? And he said, what's happening is they go into the doctor, and the doctor is taking their blood and looking at all their blood numbers. And then he says, it kind of feels like they're just guessing. The doctor's like, well, just go try this stuff over here and take a bunch of medications for the rest of your life. And by the way, you better act like you're fragile forever, right? Now, notice how emotional that is, okay? And if you're like, whoa, I can't believe he's talking about this stuff. Oh my gosh. Marketers deal in emotion. That's what you are. You're an emotion trader. You're like an emotion day trader when you're a marketer, okay? So I'm getting into the deep, hardcore emotion. That moment that you feel like, oh, can we say this on the internet? You're about to be a good marketer. As soon as you get that feeling, that's the hook. So I said to him, why do they feel like they're not able to go and move forward in their life with anything else? And he said, they literally feel like they've entered from this, they were really active, and now they're just in survival mode, right? They can't thrive at all. They've been trying all these other popular diabetes solutions. And, he's a diabetic bodybuilder. The guy's jacked. The guy that wrote this for a long time ago, I think back in 2020. So this is the hook that we wrote. This is the offer hook. It says, every diabetic checkup now feels like the doctor is just guessing, using your life. Before diabetes, you had energy for your family. You were fearless in your goals. But feeling that same way now has become more challenging. So then here's the question. How could you take control over your numbers, know more than your doctor, and live fearlessly again? And we got fearlessdiabetic.com. So what then? Well, this is not probably going to be the ad copy. This probably is not going to be the script for a YouTube video. But what it's doing is it's finding the story that we should go use in YouTube, on podcasts, in Facebook, in posts, in all these channels. That's the hook. I now have a hook that I can go drop in front of the really big rivers called people with diabetes. And people go, oh my gosh, this person understands me. Are they following me? That guy's describing my exact scenario. He went out and he used this offer hook and his company blew up with it. It's important to know that it's not a headline, but it's expressed afterward in a headline. It's expressed afterward in these internet channels. Let me give you a few more examples here. This is a client that I had also years ago. He helped Christian men get their life back together. Notice these are they're emotional topics. You can write offer hooks that are towards pleasure, but most people don't move in their life until you're talking about pain. 80% of humanity is motivated by getting away from pain, not towards pleasure. So most of these offer hooks are written to help someone exit from their pain scenario. So these offer hooks are written around pain specifically, okay? This is one right here. I said, hey, tell me about your dream customer. And he told me, he said, I work with Christian men who are leaders, right? Age 30 to 40, 60 to 70, kind of a passive lifestyle physically, but they're successful. I said, all right, tell me about their career. Tell me about their life. He goes, well, they're successful people, men who have kind of picked up some bad habits to cope with the stress that they're constantly under professionally. They're not proud of that. And their marriage has constantly felt like they're on the verge of divorce. Hardcore topic already. Don't lean away from the emotion if you're a marketer. Poke the bear, right? So, right, always on the brink of divorce. They're kind of in this identity crisis as to whether or not they're a good man, right? Right, hardcore topic. And what happened was, he said, the straw that broke the camel's back for my dream customer is literally their wife moved out, and they're not quite sure if their wife is ever going to move back in. I said, there we go. I want to tell the story of the straw breaking the camel's back. I want that emotional hammer drop. That's what we call it. Okay, so check this out. This is what I wrote for him. You've enjoyed life as a Christian man. Remember, I'm telling the story of the customer. I'm not telling the story of how I came up with my offer, and I'm definitely not telling the story of how I became an entrepreneur. That's later. They haven't said, tell me more yet, right? So it's annoying until they do, right? Your marriage has felt off for a few years now. To cope with the discomfort, you've taken on a few bad and secret habits you're not proud of. She's noticed and removed herself from you, this time by physically moving out. You're not sure if or when she's coming back. What steps could you take to feel like a man you could be proud of and win her back? And we literally got winbackyourwife.com. Now, think about what this does to somebody. There's a really good phrase. I want you guys to really remember this phrase about hooks, that hooks are always a magnet and a filter. Where marketers get in trouble today is they only ever build a magnet. So let's say that I'm on a page. Let's say that I'm this guy and I am starting to read this. That first sentence, let's say I'm not a Christian man, I'm not a father, and I don't feel like I'm a leader in my career, I would get filtered out. It's a bouncer, right? This is how we only attract, or likely attract only, our dream customer, and we scare away the nightmare customer, because those exist too, right? So I'm only going to keep reading if I identify with the story that is inside this offer hook. And it's one of the reasons they're so effective, is it's a really strong filter for attracting exactly who you want to bring in while scaring away the people who should not be buying from you. This is another example of an offer hook. They're all color-coded on the side, so I know what I wrote in the book and what I didn't. I got to go add more in here. But this is a client I had who also was in the marriage market. And I said, hey, tell me about your dream customer. And he goes, you know what? I'm actually working with the women. And I work with women who got married really young, like late teens. And after about 10 years, like they start gaining a little bit of resentment. Did we make a mistake getting married so early? All right, very emotional. And I'm diving straight on into it. And I said, all right, tell me a little bit more. He goes, well, my dream customer, she's a little bit resentful. There's no more spark in the marriage. All right, a little bit of roommate syndrome possibly going on. I said, tell me about some of the things that you want your dream customer to have purchased in order to be considered your dream customer. And we use this in the hook a lot. He goes, well, they really like Brene Brown. They've done the 5 love languages. I said, awesome. Tell me some of the self-talk going on in your dream customer's head. And really pay attention to these questions I'm asking too, because this is really the fuel we use to write one of these offer hooks. And he goes, well, the man is saying, maybe she'll put her phone away tonight. I was like, what's she saying in her head? And he told me, she's saying in her head, maybe he'll have sex with me again. A lot of tension in this marriage, in this relationship. So this is the offer hook that I wrote. You're a powerful woman with queen-like life, but your marriage has grown cold, and you've pushed aside the true feelings about feeling some resentment that's been building and some guilt. You would do what it takes to revive the spark, but you're fearful that something more dramatic might be needed to do it. Despite the signs, you want to see if you still have the potential to be lovers or just roommates. And we got areweroommates.com. Now, notice where a lot of entrepreneurs mess up on this is they title and label their offers. That's not what we're doing. As a marketer, I'm using hooks. So the .com you go to, and I don't know what all these .coms turned into years later, but these .coms that we're getting are dripping in hooks and emotion, right? Magnet and a filter. You don't click on this unless you're afraid, are we roommates? Oh my gosh. He used this and his company just exploded. He got to help a bunch of marriages. Last one here I actually wrote for Russell, one of his projects and clients. We had such a hard time coming up with a hook for this. We spent as his copy team, it took a long time. Finally, I was like, let me just go do the offer hook formula on her. So I interviewed her and it took 2 hours because it was with the weight loss space, which is usually a really tough space to write hooks in. And so I'm interviewing her until finally I was like, oh my gosh, I got it. I know what story we need to tell that resonates, that gets them to go, huh? Tell me more? All right, then we can tell the sales message. So this is what I wrote. You remember being called the life of the party, and it's a title full of memories. Now, cut to, if they don't ever feel that way, they bounce. She told me that her dream customer is a woman who has felt that she is kind of, she was attractive when she was young, but doesn't feel like it anymore. I can't just go say that. I got to tell a story that says that, right? So this is that story. You know what it's like to catch a man's sneaking glance. Ooh, right? Yet, while life has been great, other things have understandably taken priority over your time, like a career and relationships, maybe even got a sneaky diagnosis that you don't want anyone to know about. She said that was a big emotional driver for her dream customer. Even seeing pictures of yourself at a party now just leaves you secretly asking, is that what I look like? Right? You've tried everything. Sometimes it feels like your body's working against you, and doctors just tell you it's your hormones and there's nothing you can do, which she told me, right? She told me that her dream customer is being told that. I keep pausing on this so you can recognize that these are all, you don't write copy, you assemble it. And I'm asking questions that let me assemble hooks that drive tons of traffic and eyeballs to offers. So this is that change question at the end. We want a change-based question, right? What could you do in the next 30 days to get revenge on the career you wish you had, doctor's diagnosis, a relationship that went bad, or simply lost time by only using your body? And we got getyourrevengebody.com. And it was targeted towards women who were, 40s, maybe 50s, and big life changes have happened. And they're like, I want to get revenge on a relationship that went bad and I lost time. I want to get revenge on the career that I didn't have, right? Really big emotional drivers. After I wrote this one, this is when Russell was like, dude, I would pay you just to do this. He's like, you should charge 25 grand for each one of these things. Because once you have this, funnel building is easy. Offer creation is easy. Sales message is easy. It creates a theme for everything you're doing out on the internet. So the big key I want you guys to take away from this is go look at your sales message right now, look at your funnels, look at your offers, and ask yourself, am I actually telling my dream customer's story in my marketing, or am I accidentally telling my story? Am I actually attracting my dream customer by helping them realize that I know them and I relate with them? Or am I just blasting sales material all over the place, which is kind of like an unwelcome door-to-door salesperson on your doorsteps. It's a little bit annoying, right? They're in your face a little bit. And that's what it feels like if you don't actually have a hook. There was a woman who came to one of my workshops, charged 15 grand per seat. She stood up after I taught this and went a 2-hour session. She stood up and she goes, I've been in business for 17 years now, Stephen, and I'm realizing right now we've never actually had any real marketing. I just keep repurposing my sales message and blasting it all over the place. My poor customers, they're not actually being served by us. I'm kind of annoying them. And this might be one of the things that you might be realizing as well. In fact, let me know down below if you're realizing, oh my gosh, I don't actually have a hook. Very normal and very common. And it's kind of, we're in the messaging epidemic now. And this is the next piece of messaging that platforms require you to have if you're actually going to have daily leads and sales. Hey, if you like this kind of video and this kind of material, let me know down below. And I would love to keep helping you guys get more traffic to your offers and your funnels. I also made another video, though, that goes a little bit deeper into why nobody actually has a traffic problem. What they have is a messaging problem. So if you want to keep going on this topic, check out that video.